Welcome to 100 Mile Drive, and in this quick video I decided to record a real world MPG test of my 2023 X3 M40i that has a legendary B58 engine that has a 382 horsepower and 367 pound-feet of torque. This car sounds absolutely amazing, especially in its cold starts. This system is also paired to a mild hybrid system that has 11 horsepower electric motor and 48-volt battery system to store all the energy. By the way, I'm going to reveal in the video the cost of replacing that battery. And also EPA officially rated this car as 21 miles to the gallon in the city and 26 on the highway and 23 combined. So that's only 1 mile per gallon less than the X3 30i. It's a 4-cylinder counterpart. And the biggest question I have, what is it gonna be like to take this car on a 30-mile round trip? Basically, if I'm commuting to work and back, what is the real world MPG is gonna look like? And towards the end of the video, I'm also gonna reveal what is the real world MPG for this car, in case if you are curious. So make sure to stay tuned and let's get started. And I'm ready to head out for the trip. I'm gonna put the car in drive mode. Now we're gonna drive in Eco Pro mode because, let's be honest, if you're driving on a highway, that's mostly the mode you kind of would be driving. Of course, most of you might drive in a comfort mode, but I already mentioned it in my previous videos that in this particular car, because it's all-wheel drive, it's very torquey, especially when you have passengers in the car. I noticed that in driving it in comfort mode, and we also have a little Chihuahua doggy that sometimes likes to look outside the window. You have to be very easy on the throttle. Like, you have to be really easy. Like, if you just kind of drive like a normal car, you have a little quick like jumps from the start, because this car just wants to take off. I mean, it really wants to just go fast. So what I found is, if you drive it in Eco Pro mode, the car becomes very, gradual, very smooth. You don't have to think about the throttle. You don't have to control the throttle. You can just press on it, and the car will slowly, not slowly, but nicely will start moving. So I'm merging the freeway. The good thing, I live kind of on the freeway, so this is kind of not wasting too much fuel driving it in the city. So we can kind of see what our, by the way, you can see here e-assist, where the battery, the electric motor kind of assisting the regular motor. When you accelerate as well, you'll see blue and orange line at the same time. Merging the highway. So I'm not gonna obviously talk throughout the entire trip, this 30 miles trip, but I'll bring few key points. Like, if you are considering buying this car, or if you have one and you notice some of these things, observations, you are more than welcome to share them as well. Interesting thing, this weekend actually I was planning to bring another car on the channel. I'm not gonna tell you which one, but they announced the Hillary storm is coming our way. First time California has any kind of announcement of a storm. Therefore, I canceled it and I decided to make my own video, which I was still planning to make at some point. So there you have it. Now, first, I also want to quickly talk about what I'm doing. So basically, I'm going again on a round trip of 30 miles. That's the average commute, I would say, that you guys would have, or anyone would have. I mean, it could be 10 miles, 15, 20, 30, but it should not exceed that on average. Of course, if you take this car on a long journey, like 100-mile trip, your fuel economy might change slightly, but nevertheless, it should be around these numbers, what I'm gonna get. So I'm going to complete the trip, then I'm going to show you what it's going to be like, and then, as promised, there's something I wanted to address when buying this car, or if you have this car, let me know if you agree with what I'm saying. Now, another thing I want to quickly talk about is, again, comfort in this car, right? Anyone considering this car, buying this car, how comfortable it is to drive it on the highway, long trips specifically. First of all, I did put regular tires, so if you haven't watched the video on my channel. Make sure to watch where I talk about getting rid of the run flats that this car originally came with, and I also talk about how much did it actually affect performance or not, and if it did, in which areas. So make sure to check out that video as well. Other than that, this car is fairly comfortable, especially on the highways, where you'll see it very similar to its counterpart, the X330i. In the city, it feels a little bit more firmer and a little bit even crushy at some points, like at the lower speeds. Lower speeds when you drive it on unperfected roads, you know, when you hit those imperfected roads. But on the highway, overall, it's a good cruiser. It's still on the firmer side. The videos that I've been making on this car, including dynamic drive review, I did mention that this car has overall short travel suspension, meaning this car, let's make sure I don't go over the speed as much. This car is very easy to exceed the speed, let me tell you that. Because of its suspension, I mean, it holds the speed so well, like really well, and that's one good thing about the BMWs. So with its shorter suspension, it basically absorbs the dips and bumps in a quicker way. Now on a highway, you don't feel it as much, but if you do hit any of those areas, you'll feel a quick jolt, like it'll retract much faster than, let's say, the X330i. So it's definitely on the sporter side, and even the seats are seats are the same in both cars. But I'll be also making a video the things that I hope BMW improves in their next generation. So if you want to see those kind of videos, make sure to subscribe. But seats are one of them. I think BMW needs to give more comfortable seats in their X3, both, I would say, 30i and M40i. They're not bad, but I think they lack the cushion a little bit. They should be a little bit more cushioned. Of course, you can get the leather seats and premium seats, but look at X5. I mean, they've done so much improvement. They have regular Sensafin seats, this base seats, and they are so comfortable. I understand that's a different car, it's a different segment, it is designed more for comfort, but nevertheless, I mean, I feel they should provide a little more cushion. I mean, people drive Model Y Performance and it has the same, it has the more cushion seats. They're like really cheap seats, but at least they provide more cushion, and it helps with a shorter suspension. Like when you have a firmer, sporty suspension, softer seats definitely help. Another thing I do want to talk about is the mild hybrid system in this car. Do I like it? Do I not like it? What do I think about it? Now, many people shopping for this car are concerned about the fact that the BMW removed an option to disable start-stop option, right? Like you can no longer have a button where you can completely disable cars, turning off the engine on the lights. And I understand exactly what that is, and I've driven the previous generations of BMWs, and I know how at lights it cuts off kind of like very noticeably, and when you press the pedal, your even steering wheel is kind of numbed, and then there's that delay moment, and it didn't feel pleasant. Well, the thing is, with this latest generation, I don't feel bothered at all. By adding this mild hybrid battery, by the way, you can see it says coasting freely, rolling freely. That's where actually it turns off the engine. It has a capability when you're coasting and when going a little bit downhill, in fact, it has the ability to shut off the engine, I believe between 15 to almost up to 90 miles per hour. It can shut off the engine and just cruise and then recuperate the energy, which is really well. And then when needed, it can assist the motor as well. So overall, the start and stops are very seamless in this car, and I'm really happy with that. So driving it in Eco Pro or comfort mode, it feels like a Toyota hybrid in that way. It's very quick. It's almost like engine is just like, it's idle. It's not off, it's just idle. and when needed it quickly starts. Now a workaround, if you still don't want that, if you still want your engine running all the time, the workaround that people are posting on forums and in one of the comments that someone mentioned on one of my videos is that you simply need to like configure your sport individual mode to be tuned more for everything like comfort, but you'll run in sport individual mode. And if you really want, because in sport mode the engine becomes a little bit deeper, louder, you can even tone down the engine. Like there's a setting, literally there's a setting where you can tone down the engine so that way even in sport mode it's not going to be loud. So I'm pretty happy with this mild hybrid setup. I like, even in traffic, another cool thing with this mild hybrid setup, in traffic you don't lose MPGs as much. Your MPGs are still good because it does continuously shuts off you know, when you're coasting, when you're not accelerating, and it really helps the fuel efficiency. So in city driving, this car I would say probably will supersede the 4-cylinder X3. In highway, actually that's where it will lose, because here there's not much assistance that this motor can provide, the electric motor. So in highway it's just straight up, you know, whatever the fuel economy you're gonna get out of this B58. And B58 is very efficient, let me tell you that. I'm loving this engine so much. I'm loving it. I'm not super happy that they toned down the engine compared to the original X3 M40i from like 2018. That car was like nicely loud, okay? I love how loud it was. But nevertheless, I think the regulations are forcing them to do these kind of changes. So I'm pretty happy about the mild hybrid. Now, in case if you're curious, how much is the battery replacement like, right? If it ever comes, I'm personally don't worry about it, but maybe after 10 years. Right now that battery is about $2,000 and some dealers provide a little bit discount on it. So I'll put the link in the description if you're curious about learning about the mild hybrid setup, and as well as the battery cost, the part number, all that. I'm gonna link it in the description. So overall I'm pretty happy. I think this mild hybrid edition is really good. So let's look at our trip data. Literally have like 3.5 maybe miles more to go, and yeah, I'm not supposed to show you actually the trip data as much. I'll reveal it to you later. This is still not all of it, but I'm driving as normal. I'm not speeding, I'm not driving slow. This is just a normal how I would drive this car to work. In fact, I crossed my work not long ago. This is pretty much my commute. I'm just taking it a little bit further, another 4 miles further, you know, just to make it a 30-mile round trip. Going back to my home, and I'm ready to soon report what the fuel efficiency is gonna be like after I complete this trip. This is just a quick demonstration just to see what is the real world miles per gallon you're gonna get on this car. All right, stay tuned. I'm just gonna literally drive, head out, and basically report all this. Now, one thing I just wanted to bring up, I like the new iDrive. I mean, I like the iDrive 7, honestly, more than the iDrive 8. I like the fact that this car still has a menu that you can go through, whereas in iDrive 8, they basically put everything in apps, and basically you have your car apps, you have your store apps. Even though I understand that's where the future is going, and it just makes it easier to update all the apps, but I kind of like how iDrive 7 is. Also, I love the fact that there are memory buttons. I use them a lot, and by the way, X3 M40i doesn't have a sync button in case if you need to, let's say, adjust your climate control. Let's say my passenger, you know, changes the temperature. Now it's different, you want to synchronize it. So there is a sync option in the menu, but you can set the memory button. Now I'm going to press 7, and it basically adjusted the temperature back to, it synchronized it. So I love the memory buttons. I can use my Sirius XM. I mean, so many things I can do with it, and it's just a push of a button. And I hope, you know, BMW does not take it away from us. It did take away buttons for climate control. I used it in i4. It's okay, you know, it's not that bad. But I didn't see an i4 memory buttons. So I heard the new X5 has them. I haven't checked it out yet, but I'm hoping that it doesn't get rid of it. I think it's so iconic to BMWs. All right, so I'm gonna hit you once I get back and we'll summarize this. And now I'm almost back. I'm exiting the highway and I wanted to actually show you the fuel economy, the MPGs that I got on this 30-mile trip. Are you ready for this? Well, here's the thing. I'm exiting the highway and now the MPGs will, you know, probably drop more. But although, as you can see, the battery is, you know, recuperating the energy, charging the battery, engine running, so the MPGs might slightly change. But this is a real world scenario. We're not driving on like a strip of the road, which is highway only. We're driving, you know, in the city with the real world you know, situations. And in this case, exiting the freeway, going to, you know, to your garage or carport. All right, ready for this? Let's do this. I'm gonna put the trip data, and that's energy flow, that's the trip data, and boom, 32.5 miles per gallon. That's what I got on this trip. This car, again, EPA rated 21 in the city, 26 in the highway. And you can certainly exceed that as a 32.5 MPG on fairly short, I would say, round trip of exactly 30 miles, as you can see here. This is, I think, pretty amazing. There was a little bit of traffic coming back a little bit before the exit, but like I said, this is a real world scenario. And now let me quickly park and I'll talk about a real world MPG on this car. All right, there you go. A trip has been completed. I am parked, I'm stationary, and now let's discuss a real world fuel economy. So from exiting the freeway, let's see, put it here. It's now showing at 32 MPG. So this includes basically me hopping on a freeway, driving 30 miles, coming back. So you could see I added another 0.6 miles and it dropped to 0.5. So you could probably say, you know, hitting the freeway, coming back, you'll show, I hope you can see there's some glare here. I'll try to take a picture of this as well. It's 32 MPG, what I really got in a real world scenario. Don't pay attention to this average speed, 47, it keeps dropping. I don't understand how they calculate that because it includes car being stationary as well. So I did a quick warm up and, you know, as you can see, it's even dropping now when car is already parked, basically. It is on, but it's parked and it's shut off. As you can see here, vehicle's ready to drive, but it's off. So now, as far as real world MPG, let me show you this. I'm gonna go to car, I'm gonna go to settings, general settings, and reset trip data. Look, it's set to start off trip. And now I'm gonna change it to, let's just say, you know, individual. This is when around the time we bought the car. Actually bought it on the 1st or something. And now you want to see the MPG, right? And then we're gonna go back to this, and as you can see, it's 22 miles to the gallon. This is the average that it got, 22 miles per gallon. So why am I showing you? What does it mean? Well, this means that's on average, this is how much MPG I got in this car. And guys, this is X3 M40i with the B58 engine, which means I do drive it sometimes in sport mode. You can get 32 MPG on a highway in this 30-mile trip. And now if I go a few miles in a sport mode, you know, start, you know, not even driving it aggressively, just listening to engine sound, maybe, you know, drive a little bit faster, take off a little bit faster, and this MPG will go from 30 to 22 very quickly. So obviously, if you're buying a car like this, you're not gonna just drive it in Eco Pro mode to work. You're gonna have fun with it as well. And combining that will give you around this much, 22 miles per gallon on average. Claimed is 23. So yes, you could probably get 23, but that's gonna be driving even slower than I do. I don't drive fast. If I got this car when I was like 22, 23 years old, I think the average would have been around 18, 19 probably in this car. This is, I think, still good comparatively that I don't drive as aggressively. So I hope this information helps. I hope you enjoyed this video, found value in it. Let me know if you want me to do a similar one in the city. In city, numbers will be skewed even more, but if you want to kind of see how much the electric motor assists in this case and what real world MPG I would get in the city, let me know in the comments. I can make another video. Otherwise, catch you in the next video.